We are back. It is a new week, and there are no more excuses, my friends. Sometimes you just have to hit record. You have to pick up that stylus, pick up that brush, and apply that paintbrush to the canvas and not know what's going to happen. Jump off into the uncertainty, the fool, in the tarot cards. Welcome back, Artist Journal, June 23rd, 2025, broadcasting from the non-space of the mind. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Beginning a new week. And so, I don't know how this keeps happening, but I'm almost back to where I was like a year and a half ago, where somehow the prep is taking forever. And it's funny because I had this whole, I discussed it on this show, and I try not to, frankly, discuss it too much. But sometimes when I'd do the prep like half an hour, it'd be just as good. And in a sense, no one would know the difference. So I am working it back. I am getting back into the groove here. This is kind of a funny work. Of course, some of you saw it. Maybe some of you didn't. If you weren't kind of quick on it, if you weren't on X, I think it was Friday evening, Saturday evening, you might have missed it. It is a loud work. Like, of course, this is Waffles, also known as Pin Steak, but here, Pin Snake, so a new name to add to the collection. Enola Whipple, I think, is the other one, and we have about 5 others. What's kind of funny about this, back to behind the scenes, this work, it was very hard to put from a curatorial point of view. In a sense, it came here just because it was so hard to put anywhere else, because it was so loud. This is a very loud work, and you really notice it when you start juxtaposing it with other works too. And I just thought, you don't want to do Waffles too often, but I think we've only done Waffles 2 other times since episode 400. So I think we're doing okay. We're on episode 431. And it is earned. It is earned. So as you see here, it actually wasn't obvious to me at first. Interestingly, I saw it on the phone. And I picked up a couple of copies on the phone and never really thought about it, bookmarked it, and I brought it up on my desktop. And that's when I understood the volume, so to speak, the loudness of this work. And then I started to realize, I was like, oh, it almost looks like the frog. It almost looks like Pepe the Frog here being repeated. We see the trademark eyeballs. We've seen the eyeballs in Pinsteak's work, of course, the Fantavision works. In terms of the software, what does this remind you of? You go, oh, what on earth kind of software is this? It kind of looks like the Bitcoin works, if I had to compare it to anything, especially the animation, the feeling. Now, the Bitcoin works were, from what I understood, I had a whole 20-minute intro on how I think they were using, Waffles was using, also known as Waffles, Pin Snake here, was using a custom tooling, which I keep saying here, I think is just a massive trend. It's along with AI, and it's actually, one could argue is an offshoot of AI, is being able to create your own tools as an artist, as a digital artist. It's like you can make your own paintbrushes, right? You can do mods, as they would say with the TB03. Oh, we'll add a little something in the wiring, and all of a sudden, it does something different. To a certain degree, that is what is happening here. Courtesy of AI, artists can go in and say, hey, make me a version of Fantavision, and then all of a sudden you get a different Fantavision out of the default that the AI will give you. It won't be as elaborate, but then you can probably start to do things and then, add things. I don't know if that's exactly what this is, but if I had to venture a guess, that is what is happening here. So, just final point on this work. So interesting composition. We almost see what looks like a kind of a widescreen 9x16 within smaller, more traditional kind of TV screen from, back in the 80s. The more the kind of rectangular-esque or the squarish rectangle. So we have that. So it almost looks like a work on top of a work, interestingly. And we do see what seems to be different animation speeds. And I think technically that stuff starts to get difficult. So one wonders. One wonders, did the Pepe that looks like it's kind of, brushed out here, is that simply a layer that is being animated, and then on top is another animated layer of, say, the eyeballs? And that is maybe why we're getting a kind of a organic life, so to speak, in this work. There's something, it feels alive. As I was saying, it's quite loud, this work. It's remarkably loud. Which is kind of, again, why I kind of had to start with this. Again, I put waffles up here so much that I'm almost like, okay, is there anything else? Because, you don't want to overdo it here. But so, all to say, just so you know. Interesting at the bottom here, too. This looks like another composition. Like, if I had to venture a guess, I see about 3 layers here. I see the bottom, what I call the squarish rectangle, with just some kind of random stuff, right? These little rectangles at the bottom right, this kind of glitchery on the left, and then this part on top, which is being cut off with this other layer, seemingly. Now, there is this kind of noise layer on the right, which unifies everything. So I don't exactly know what's going on. Maybe this is a repetition. The background is a repetition, like a zoomed in version of the kind of more HD ratio TV underneath, another technique you could use. And so it matches up over here at the bottom, but not at the top, right? And maybe that's the kind of thing that would happen. So pretty cool, pretty interesting. Let's take a look at the title, 001. So Pin Snake. So after the massive success with the Pin Snake account on Object, going to Manifold on ETH, I think sold 58, and I think when you do the math on the original mint price, it was something like $400. So nice take. $400 US. You start thinking about rent and these sorts of things, you say not bad at all. Again, on Manifold. Cool work there. So the Pin Snake, maybe Pin Snake was taken. So Waffles had to do the Pin Snake. That is how you find the account. I do remember a tweet post saying that perhaps a little bit of a break or that things would be intermittent, I believe was the word for the Pin Stake account. So maybe this is what we're going to get in the meantime. Very prolific. There's some Enola Whipple works too as well. So start us off on a new week here. So minting today at 4, it is busy over here. Let me tell you, it's been a busy couple of days. We have The Room by Cap'n, presented by the Pocobelli collection here. So very exciting work here. Of course, we had Elby's work, Show, Wow. Loved the title of that. That was March 31st. So here we are, about 7 weeks later. We have The Room by Cap'n, and here you will find on Object, if you search the Pocobelli collection, you should get that first page we're just looking at. You can click on The Room, and you'll see Cap'n's kind of imaginary recreation. Apparently it's a little bigger, of Cap'n's room. Really amazing show here, as you're about to see. This is going to go live at 10 a.m. New York time, Eastern time, and 4 p.m. Central European time, which is here in Berlin. So here is the show. I mean, maybe we hit the slideshow here. Maybe we can this is convenient, isn't it? Internet is playing nice here. So as you see, just amazing. I love this piece. The colors. So we have works by, and then this one with the surfer. This one is going to be auctioned, not auctioned. There's going to be a raffle. And I'll show you the work you can buy. There's one, it's not for sale yet, any of it, except for one piece, which is the token, which you can buy for 99 Tezos cents. And that's to get this work here, this gorgeous surfing work. So here, as you see, just a epic 35 works in the show here by Cap'n. It's almost, as I said on the spaces, which I'll show you in a sec. If you want to hear what Cap'n has to say, we talked an hour on the show. It's almost like a retrospective, but with all new works. We go back to a lot of this is Cappen's gift shop, so a lot of the different collections Cappen has done, but they're new works. So pretty rad. We try and hit all the price points here, from super elite to, hey, I just want to work from the show. I love Cappen's work, and where you can get a nice work. These are spectacular. We have 6 of these ones. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous works here. This is from the video game, The Path. So just spectacular show here by Cappen. Look at that work. Look at this pixel art work. Here is the token that you buy. It is 99 Tezos cents. Look for that one. You can buy it now. Then there's the diskette that will get you the last 6 works. I may have screwed up the order a little bit here. I need to fix that, actually. I think the diskette goes first and then the token. And then some, I think this is Data Bits is the name of this account. So finally, I believe these are 1-of-1s, and they're going to be pretty reasonably priced. So good reason to be waiting at your computer. And the key will open. I believe the auction is for the key. I need to switch this token with the diskette here. The auction is for the key, and that will, I believe, get you the room. But more on that. There's also a website, theroom.xyz. So Cappen, enter theroom.xyz. So Cappen went crazy here, as I was showing last episode. And this takes you to a link to the collection. How amazing is that? So just rad. And here you'll find the works hidden away in this amazing website here by Cappen. So spectacular job, and you will be surprised at how in-depth this website is. The rabbit hole goes deep. It runs deep here. So check it out. Exciting. You can hear all about it here. We did a space last night, Sunday at 9 p.m. Still working here. Looking forward to the great space with Chico. It's Chico Jam, and it was awesome. And just clocking in at exactly an hour. Thrilled with that. So that is happening today. And also big thank you over the weekend. Posted a couple of works here from the Pixel Art Sketchbook on Object. So thank you for all the collectors. Healthy market, as I was commenting there. So I think I might... there is a bit of an issue with the flippers coming in. So I think I'm going to adopt what other people have done, like Sabato, even Nuv, where you kind of hold back a couple of works, so then if you get offers, so that the flippers can't buy everything and then sell it at 1.5 times or twice the price. And then just making money for people that weren't there that immediate second, or holding on to 3 works that they don't even really want, or whatever. Ultima 3 disc, yes. So anyways, thrilled that the works are selling and doing well. Thrilled that there's demand, and I'm glad you guys all love it. Let's check out there's that wonderful, this is in Cappen's entertheroom.xyz, Museums of the Future. Love that title. Check out the comments. Ed Marola, love you, Poco. Great to hear from you, Ed, a wonderful artist out of Brazil. Ed Marola, shout out to you. Cal Flemmer, the Cappen website is so cool. Indeed. It was rad, wasn't it? It is rad. The PC ROM game looks so cool. Yes, okay. Awesome. I'm glad it is. And it's kind of like, as I was saying in the space, it's the heart of the exhibition. In a sense, that is the kind of the spiritual center, one might say, of that exhibition. All Aus Z Hip Hop. Remix culture is here, so we're going to bring this back up here. This is the big question, right? As we discuss basically how you can just, copy the style or apply style of whatever artist to whatever work. And yeah, what does it mean? Remix culture is here, according to All Aus Z Hip Hop. Ed Marola first. Indeed, my friend. Thank you for the comments. Enola Whipples, also known as Waffles, who we began the show with. Hi, Poco, loosely based on There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly. So, referring to the Enola Whipple series, I believe. Mentioning, so a little bit of explanation, because I actually quite didn't know, so kind of fun. I like using stories. I mean, I did it with the, Siri goes on. I did it with the Inferno. It's a fun way of approaching just making works, So let's continue here. Museums of the Future, thank you for the response here and all the retweets. Much appreciated. Son of Lost G, scale absolutely matters when it comes to viewing art. Indeed, especially digital art. But whatever the case may be, the impact, scale matters. I've used a projector at home for a while. Love the idea of a modular LED wall as pictured. Cost prohibitive right now, but prices will fall. Also, Apple implemented object persistence with AR art artifact placement in the past. You had to reposition with each reboot restart. So maybe we get there with AR or augmented reality first. Excellent point. I think when is it Apple Vision? You don't hear much about it, do you? But nevertheless, when it came out, I talked about it, and I think I kind of vocalized a similar sort of thought, like maybe this is how it's going to be done. And you are hearing kind of the return of Google Glass, so to speak, right? Which kind of PR-wise, I think it was the Drudge Report actually sank that ship. Interestingly, how long ago was that? 10 years ago? But nevertheless, I think, we're hearing about more visual, you have the ears with the AirPods, and you even have Apple Vision. It's probably eventually just going to be glasses, and you're going to get prescriptions, and you're even going to be able to get prescriptions. I think that's what's going to happen. Glasses are about to get totally... what is the word? It's a cliche word, so let's not even use it because I can't even remember it. All right, Al Crego, thank you for the comment, and indeed, covering all sides here. Al Crego, the future is years ago. A quick visit inside Helix. So let's, so here, kind of like perhaps like a virtual reality here, courtesy of Al Crego. Helix, interesting. And I believe these were a series of one-of-ones inside. Yes, it is. It's almost like the Guggenheim here. So pretty cool. I think you can walk inside Helix, 300 one-of-ones there. First and still only in crypto art and in history of art. Maybe one day people will finally realize. Indeed, how many of us have said that to ourselves as we work on our works? So awesome. Great to hear from you, Al Crego. Very cool. Very cool, and looks like has been done a while ago, years ago. John Cates, museums of the future are in our pockets. And kind of another discussion we've had, is the phone really, or our screen actually where these museums kind of reside, so to speak? Is that their native habitat? I have to say, seeing that image, like that interior that we saw the other day, that was a pretty nice physical space that you don't even need to imagine too much. Like it was kind of all there in that museum that we're looking at that they're planning in New York. So interesting. So I'd say all of the above would probably be my response to that. Thank you, John Cates, wonderful Western glitch artist out of Taiwan, based in Taiwan. American based in Taiwan. Neural Divine, thank you for the comment. Andre Balestrero, regarding the copyright issue. I have mixed feelings. For sure, there can be unfair play involved. But on the other hand, in terms of innovation, I guess masters have always exploited younger, unknown artists, while on the contrary, style alone doesn't seem enough to achieve success. Despite that, big whales are always ready to sue weaker players for stealing their stuff. Also, commercial value of art has been proven to be quite independent from its aesthetic quality. Well, ain't that the truth? AI simply makes technically easier to steal something. In this sense, it could be considered just like another tool, like photography versus painting or engraving, maybe. In the end, who knows how art will look in a few years, or if there will still be humans to enjoy it? Yes, it is a valid question. I mean, it does feel like we're moving towards Terminator 2 quite quickly, doesn't it, with robotics and AI. And then you hear about these AIs that don't want to be shut down and all this sort of thing. Regarding the issue, it's going to come up again. And my thoughts on it, as I think about it over the weekend, it's sort of like one thing, it's like almost you could use like an analogy, right? Because I think of sampling, right? That was like that was a controversial version of copying. And it's sort of like, because I'm cool with sampling, right? And who was it? What was the name of was it Run DMC? They took Kraftwerk, I think. Maybe they took James Brown, right? And James Brown is sued like so many of these, like, because he was so, and it's probably Bootsy Collins there on bass. He was so ripped off, right? So to speak. But there is something I would argue different from what Run DMC does. Let's say taking something from a record that's been around for 40 years, people recognize kind of a common reference point. So one could argue from an artistic perspective, one could argue a kind of commentary. One could start to at least make the argument of fair use, right? In the case of Run DMC James Brown, I think James Brown still won those cases. As far as I'm not an expert on it. If it was Run DMC, whatever the hip hop band was, hip hop act. So that's one thing. It's one thing to take Goethe or Warhol's Goethe and start just remixing pastiche, stuff that a common vocabulary, because you can start to argue there's commentary, and at that point nobody's worrying 40, 50 years later if Warhol's going to take a hit from some artist going, oh, I want to use Warhol as a reference, or whatever the case may be, sample Warhol or even copy Warhol's style. There's a difference between that than, say, Run DMC playing an act at the same night with another act and then going, oh, I really like that act, and then I'm going to use that, right? I'm going to sample that and then put it in my track, and that act might even, might not be as big or is about the same, and I'm just like, because that would be crossing a line, I would argue. Whereas the James Brown, like, in a sense, like, it's, it's like sampling Mickey Mouse, right? Disney may not be happy. They, especially depending on how you do it. But it's sort of like, this is part of the deal. You want to be the dominant corporation and sell us billion-dollar movies, but then we're not allowed to do anything with that, but we're all supposed to be programmed by it. That's one thing. Another thing is going, oh, there's the cartoonist, my neighbor. I saw his work at an art convention, and I'm going to just like start using certain things and not worry about it, right? So I think the context this is from the moral perspective, from the what is copying, or we might call fair use, whatever the legal definitions aside, what we might start to call fair use, right? So is that fair when you're just taking it from the guy who's not famous yet, or gal who's not famous yet, who's just who may not even be as big? So that's kind of my sort of thoughts over the weekend. It's a tricky issue. It's a complicated issue. Let's continue, because it's going to come up again. Mixed feelings is a great way to put it. Indeed. David Lockhart. Hey, Adrian, welcome back. I've been messing around with some experimental artworks while binging on your past journal episodes. Wonderful to hear. I found out you worked in a comic book store, so sent you this Moto Man, Superman, as a thank you for sharing your energy for the community. Cheers. Thank you. And I love it. And I love how it's like a Commodore 64. And here is Superman. Interesting. So very cool. Love those Commodore 64 colors. So thank you for that. Enola Whipple. At least AI will never take away our ability to dance. Indeed. Cool track here, by the way. Let's just see. The most sampled group of all time, allegedly. Interesting. I didn't see that. I didn't know that, actually. Sui Soichi, thank you so much, Pocobelli. You are welcome. And we have another work, a little sketch by Sui Soichi. Very interesting artist, aren't they? Nori, nice pickup. Thank you. Renki, Art Wojak, love Renki. Indeed. Great to hear. Ile, great episode. You bring up important questions regarding style transfer and innovators, and it's not only happening with AI. I see style lifting in the digital by hand realm lately, and I don't know the right action either. It's one thing if an artist explicitly states they want their work sampled as CC0. Indeed. I'm kind of back to my context here. One thing is to sample something that we might say is in the common vocabulary. ESG is an interesting question because, like, how many people knew ESG? And if they were one of the most sampled of all times, like, what does that mean? Right? So if they got no kind of, if people are basically taking their glory, or at least taking parts of their glory. Finally, on this, I do have actually a solution I've thought of here. It's on the list of things to do. I actually have been thinking about this subject for a long time, and I kind of have an idea, actually, what to do. So that is in the startup thing to do list, which right now is below a couple of other majorly important lists, but it is actually on the agenda. IRA, need to try it. Okay, excellent. Okay, and finally, something I did not mention the last couple of episodes, in the catch-up episodes, this is one more catch-up piece. 1-Bit Necro, May 19th, 2025. So this was actually a week after I went away, but I saw it when I went away. Going to 1-Bit Necro's account, as I do, just to check, see if there were any updates. And we got this, what I would call mysterious and hopefully untrue account, posted on the 1-Bit Necro account. Athens, Greece, May 18th, 2025. Artist 1-Bit Necro was discovered deceased in an Athens apartment on Sunday, May 18th, with authorities determining the cause as suicide. The artist had been reported missing and presumably dead since November 2024. Police stated that the individual, whose identity remains undisclosed, was found alongside a laptop, 2 handwritten notes, a book containing artwork, postmortem directives, and media account credentials. The notes' contents are not public. Now, the reason why I feel like this isn't true, and I sure hope it's not true, is because this is written exactly in the style that one would imagine 1-Bit Necro to write this thing. So one hopes this is not true. Before going missing, the artist arranged for their dogs to be placed with adoptive families. The investigation into the death is ongoing, and no additional information has been released. I mean, it's kind of persuasive. So hopefully this is just referring to the 1-Bit Necro artist account, persona. I suspect, that is what is happening here, but hard to say. But almost a work of art unto itself. What's going on there? Fascinating artist. Jedi Wolf. If one can grasp the sheer volume of remarkable art and talent emerging in this space every day, there is no room for doubt or skepticism ever again. And I completely agree with this. It is remarkable. There is what I'd call significant art and talent. And I think we have the free market and the collectors to thank for that. Of course, the artists work hard as well, but without the free market, I don't think we're going to have this explosion, a kind of renaissance in productivity of just an innovation, actually. Like, in a sense, we kind of have a raw free market here, which I think is what's going on. And, if you can do something amazing that that is innovative, that people, like, you can make a fortune here, as we've been seeing. So all very interesting. Continuing on, Neon Monk. Regarding AI copycats, so Neon Monk had a great idea here. Many digital artists are concerned about others copying their style with the help of AI tools. Pocobelli also highlighted this issue on his latest show. First, let me say that I'm a fan of AI artists who explore new tools and techniques to create worlds that were never possible before. Artists have always been influenced by each other, and certain aesthetic similarities or inspirations are unavoidable. Indeed, I agree with all of that. That being said, cheaply stealing someone's exact aesthetic signature without attribution, and trying to cash in on it and trying to make money on it has nothing to do with art and is simply not okay. So this is interesting. So a line is being crossed. We're back to the moral argument here. The lines can sometimes be blurry, which is why I think we need to experiment with ideas to mitigate these developments without censoring or becoming arbiters of artistic integrity. And and unfortunately, we do see, even without AI, as Ile points out, we do see, unfortunately, too much copying. right? I mean, sometimes you will see accounts, and I kind of made it like a policy on this show, like I think 75 episodes ago or so, or 50 episodes ago, saying, you know, it's pretty obvious when it happens. I used to be like, free market, blah, blah. Now it's like if there's an obvious copying going on, then it's sort of like, I prefer not to, at least for myself, that it's got to be kind of not celebrated. Let's put it that way. So as Ile points out, this happens outside of AI as well. But with AI, all of a sudden it's going to be, you just say, oh, here's an image, copy the style, apply here, right? The lines can sometimes be blurry. Transparency is key, in my opinion, and AI may actually help us achieve it. Indeed, serious collectors always want to know who did it first, especially as the price point of the artwork increases. One idea could be to have an Explore Matches button when viewing an artwork on Object or Super Rare. Once clicked, an AI engine would highlight the top 5 aesthetic matches, ranked by similarity, with the creation dates, year, month of those artworks clearly listed. This is a brilliant idea, I think, and my take on it has been, in a sense, the AI is going to be able to figure it all out at some point. So, although perhaps artists feel that they can just, take their neighbor, like using the musicians analogy, and go, oh, I'll just take that guy's Who's Gonna Know, especially if I have a different audience and whatnot, and then apply it and use that groove in my groove, or whatever the case might be. The AI is probably going to figure it out, where it's going to get so advanced that even if you kind of cover your tracks, it's going to be able to basically reverse engineer this thing. One imagines. Now, so Neon Monk has a different approach, though, which is like, hey, let's compare it to aesthetics. And if basically you start seeing too many similarities, you're going to start moving up this kind of aesthetic similarity ladder. So once clicked, an AI engine would highlight the top 5 aesthetic matches ranked by similarity with creation dates. This would not only help users discover other interesting artists, but also bring more transparency to who was first with a very specific style. This is all very well reasoned. Personally, I would prefer such an open, non-censoring approach rather than relying on centralized flagging or blocking, which is often subjective and hard to scale. Indeed, I completely agree with this, because how are you going to police this? And who's going to police it, and based on what, and at what point? It's a blurry line, right? So I think this is quite smart. The perfect UX UI for such a feature can be developed iteratively, but I believe it's a promising start. Another possible approach, instead of AI matching, could be community tagging of similar artists, again with account age automatically displayed. Right, so where the community plays a role. Of course, there's still the problem of someone copying and releasing work on a completely different platform or blockchain, where the original artist might not surface, but this could still be a step in the right direction. Please share your ideas so we can start a discussion on this topic. So, I think brilliant idea. I think that's a great idea. And just to start, I think the super rare and object, because otherwise what? Right? I just think it's a very good idea. I think it adds credibility to the whole space, because we have to look at the other side of this, which is, are new artists going to want to come into a space if all of a sudden it means your art is going to be, lifted, and all of a sudden someone's going to walk away, and where you have to be concerned about that, or where the scene even has a reputation for doing that. I mean, as I say, the most bearish thing and there aren't many bearish things, but the most bearish thing, I'd argue, in the whole art on the blockchain situation is copying, because it's the only thing that's ever made me want to leave. Okay, so just speaking from personal experience, it's the only thing where it's like, oh, maybe it would have been better if I'd never been involved here. From an artistic perspective. And how sad is that? 430 shows later, actually it's much, much earlier, and it's happened to almost everybody, right? So I'm not saying anything beyond what I'm saying. It's happened to everybody. It's a common experience. But if it becomes a thing where it's like, oh, it's a free-for-all over here, would you want to get in if you're on the outside into a scene like that? So it's not a small matter. I would argue, if it's not handled right, the credibility of the scene will start to suffer. and it could suffer quite dramatically. Like I say, it's the most bearish thing that's happening, and it comes with the territory, so it's not the end of the world, right? But it's kind of it's an important subject, and it shouldn't be put to the side or dismissed from my perspective. So thank you, Neon Monk. Dither, Zachboy. Is paying for a service to animate your image considered art? So let me just stop. In my opinion, no, it's not. So I guess it's the new Midjourney. You can just take an image, give it, and all of a sudden you have your animation here, right? If you're generating your videos and images locally, that is a different story. But if you're paying for a service to do it for you, it's not your art. If all these services disappeared, you would no longer be able to create the art that was supposed to be yours. This is a thorny issue too, isn't it? Because one could make the same argument for Photoshop. It's like, well, there are certain digital tools. The reason why I have, certain works is because of the technology enabled me to create those shapes. Say the pencil tool for me, the magic wand, So it's an interesting question. This one's not as clear to me. The definition of art, the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. Now, this is just one of a billion, right? There are many different definitions of art and beyond expression. One could argue it's quite a philosophical, approach to things. So would love to hear some opinions. So but I think the reason I mention it here is I think it's it's an interesting point this person is bringing up. Dither, also known as Zachboy. So another interesting discussion for us here. 36 minutes, my God. Okay, let's speed up here. Takashi Murakami at Gagosian. Now, speaking of, right, okay, and I think this is actually a good illustration. So interesting. So here, Takashi Murakami taking Hirishoge and then making them large. I believe this is acrylic on canvas mounted on aluminum frame. Right? So here, taking these Japanese woodcuts, famous prints, and, and changing the scale, putting them on aluminum, with, I think, mixed results. You see that? You can kind of see a little bit of the aluminum. I don't love the aesthetics from over here of the aluminum, but you see it down there, right? But let me make this larger. Here, but interesting, right? And they look pretty cool in the gallery. Now, I want you to notice this one, actually. This one in particular, because I brought up some different examples here. Here is another display. So they're quite large, so the scale has changed. Think of Jeff Koons' Gazing Ball series, where he changed he did all these masterpieces, but then changed the scale. And then he'd even paint the cracks in the Mona Lisa. Quite brilliant, one could argue. This one is an interesting question. A few more installation shots. This one is an interesting question. I'm not sure it's as powerful as the Jeff Koons version. I felt like the Jeff Koons one was actually more creative, interestingly. So here the scale has changed and also the underneath. Now, okay, so I wanted to bring up a specific work here. Right, so this is the original Hirishoge. And you're going, if you read the artist statement, and here we go. If you read the artist statement, it talks about how a UFO has been added. If you see where the arrow is, right there, see that little thing? That has been added to the piece as well. So this is called Kobayashi Takagashi. UFOs have been flying over Japan. So a slight changing, and so some creativity, one must admit. And of course, there's creativity in the interpretation. I'm not denying that. But as you see here, no UFO. And I better not make my computer struggle too much here, but you see no UFO here. And also they mentioned this work, interestingly, in the references. So that was kind of interesting in the artist statement on Gagosian. So all very interesting. And so I think the difference, finally, so you could say, well, what about this? And I'm kind of back to, well, Hirishoge, everybody knows. It's kind of like, or at least most people know, there's no sense that Murakami it's not like some unknown artist that Takashi Murakami is quoting here. And part of Murakami's work is I believe it's called, is it Japonisme, which is basically the French term for when these works, there's kind of like an excitement. Here we see a copy of I think it's a Monet with his wife in a kimono or something. And there's even some Louis Vuitton, which Murakami argues is also part of the Japonisme. So interesting show here, Takashi Murakami in New York. But again, it's not like some small artist that he's taking the works from. And so I think that context matters, interestingly, from the moral perspective. So interesting discussion here. David Zwirner, I just wanted to highlight this. I got an email from David Zwirner Gallery because I'm on the newsletter list. And existential comics are Crumb. And so it's just kind of interesting to see Robert Crumb get the respect from, one of the top galleries there. People sometimes talk about Zwirner as being, inheritor of Gagosian's throne, so to speak. Also, here, a Frank Miller cover, while we're on the comics front, a Frank Miller cover of Detective Comics number 1100. Let me just kill that ad. Pretty spectacular, actually. Kind of a Dark Knight Returns kind of vibe. Frank Miller, of course, very important artist in the comic sphere. Here is Camino Art Center doing, I believe this is a Hermipe. I'm not positive here. But a cool pixel art t-shirt. Pretty sure that's Hermipe in this work here. And of course, Hermipe, look at that. Look at that t-shirt and just these different kinds of mediums. A little bit of how the sausage is made, so to speak. And look at that. Just nice little small screen printing. That looks like a home screen print. And look at that. I mean, it is in a studio, but they sure make it look easy. Gosh, I was like, I got to bookmark that. Element Lee, small. While we're looking at pixel art being made physical, Element Lee continues to be super interesting. And so here, just this tiny, you see the scale from the piece of tape here. Small work by Element Lee printed out. Very interesting and cool on this kind of very temporary feeling, fragile object. Beautiful work. This is also cool. Peter the Roman. I began working on Apocalyptish back in January as the world felt increasingly unstable. Like something was beginning to slip. Tomorrow I'm proud to release the project with Verseworks. So I think tomorrow was, June 20th, this got released. So we've shown some of Peter the Roman's work. Quite an extensive show here on Verseworks, Apocalyptish. I think doing quite well. There are only, I think, 4 left or 5 left. Otherwise, all sold, as far as I understand. And here's just a quick taste of the show. Maybe I'll just show them like this. I believe these are CGI, if I'm not mistaken. Like, they're 3D works in AI and CGI, but they're not actually physical sculptures. But you kind of think that sooner or later, as far as I understand, maybe they are physical. I don't think they are, though. I think it's the image. They're photographs. They're simulated, so to speak, sculptures. But they look pretty spectacular. And surely this will be possible, if not already, quite soon, to be able to get this done. Surely a 3D printer at some point, if not already, can do this. So pretty spectacular works here, as you see. And looks like, I was going to say the 4 horses of the apocalypse, but it looks like there might be 5. So maybe it's super apocalyptic. There is a 5th horse just to add to the apocalypticness. I'm not sure if we looked at this last episode, but it's pretty rad, isn't it? Cashern. I think we might have looked at it, but in case we didn't, I wanted to highlight it. So Cashern adding kind of some glitch romery, some Nintendo glitch ROM, glitching to this kind of retro video game look. Just super cool. Here's Sabato, GIF of a ROM corruption glitch from Legendary Wings. So Sabato continuing to release Drip Out some more. This is a nice one with the wings and this great background. So more Nintendo glitch ROMs from Sabato, probably part of that show we were seeing last episode. Here's Haiti Rocket. I think this is called Paperboy. if I'm not mistaken. So gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous work here. A true master, like Haiti Rocket is a true master of the Nintendo glitch ROM. Easy Street, so great to see new glitch ROMs here from Haiti Rocket. Dare, Mike Tyson, Mike is waiting for your challenge. He was just in Berlin, actually. Maybe that's why he was in the news, so perhaps Haiti saw him in the news there. Also, this was, so I wanted to show this. Something we discuss here. I've experimented with this a little bit as well as many other artists, playing with the colors. You know, so here is one of one, Tropical Summer Jam. Here's Tropical Summer Jam 2. So very cool one of ones here. A series of different works. I think the key here is you release them all at once, and then you list them, and then nobody feels like, oh, I bought a one of one, but then there's 5 others. Oh, what does it mean? And then they just have all the information ahead of them, and then they can decide, you know, how they want to approach that. So it's an interesting thing because I think as art pieces, it's legitimate. I would argue they are, as you see here, they're a different feeling. You know, each one, you know, so it is interesting, isn't it? So these summer jams, courtesy of Haiti Rocket as well. So on a tear here, very cool pesky skateboards. So some classic, this is Haiti Rocket, sale 99 Tezos. And what's cool is Trippy Collector got a one of one, a rare one of one from Haiti Rocket for picking up the skateboard. Pretty rad. Eyes of Damnation, that pinball guy. I see worlds beyond this, and I am scared, very scared. So cool, another cool use of like ASCII pesky here, and cool contrast between what looks like kind of anime and again pesky here. Or ASCII text, I should say. Edition of 9. Actually, it's an open edition, 2 Tezos. Nice piece. Leander Herzog. I thought this was great. There's something about it. I think Leander Herzog might have been working with Star Wars logos at one point. I'm sure I've seen this before, this kind of style. There's something pretty, I think, original and kind of big and blocky and just unusual and distinct about these abstracts here. So cool 2-color abstract here. Actually, maybe 3. That black looks a little darker over there. And from Leander Herzog, a very cool piece. I thought this was hilarious. So the wit continues from Dan Control in the middle of, in medias res, as they say. So before we had the landscape, where all of these works were on the bottom, now they're in the middle. Quite brilliant. Dan Control, I'd say, you know, tempting to call a major conceptual artist, at least in relative to this scene. Like very important, you know, great ideas coming from Dan Control, as usual. Just always thoughtful, very brilliant. Nov 1914, Sobre la Macada. I don't think we've seen this one. I don't think so at all. This is quite interesting too. So we see actually, so Nov does a traditional frame here. Almost self-consciously, like here is just a regular frame, because usually they're always kind of different and edgy. This is quite interesting too, though. As we look up close here, it looks like different kinds of renditions and almost painterly. In the different applications, here we see that wild brush, here we see more gradients, here we see what seems to be a different style here. So very interesting piece, as well as that kind of fuzzed out what looks like almost a road or something. Not sure what that is. Sobre la Macada, la Maceta, and that is 12 Tezos on object. Another Algunas Rosa Blancas, so another work of flowers with this cool kind of box in the middle with the X on it, and then 3D, but it's flat 3D. It's like a painting, but at an angle. So continues to be quite interesting with Nov 1914, edition of 7. Here's another one, employing a similar edgy technique here. And then also kind of a different style here being employed in the brushwork. So conceptually quite interesting there as well. Mishi Asu, Doodle, spectacular work here. Beautiful work here from Mishi Asu on object, a one of one. I think this went for about 20 Tezos, 22 Tezos to Golo. Fabulous, fabulous piece here. From Mishi Asu. And here is No Hygiene on object, kind of an edgy work here, as we see almost the wounds here and firearm. Edition of 100 Tezos, so no hygiene, posting on object. Von Doyle, the inflated oracle. So looking like AI from almost that earlier version of AI that you almost like Google Dream type look. I thought we had a comment from Roon Toon on how Glenn Brown, did we miss that comment? He was mentioning how Glenn Brown didn't use Google Deep Dream. And so, which is interesting. I thought he might have. So just looking visually, so it's totally possible that Glenn Brown didn't use it. Just going back to the other episode. So cool AI artwork here from Von Doyle. Again, hearkening back to early AI. We are so back. The Inflated Oracle, edition of 69. And looking like has quite an audience here. 2 left. So doing quite well on that work. Here, this is quite interesting. This is Yuri J, of course. La Magia Desnuda, censored a bit. And so the nude is pretty funny. I don't know, we might have seen this, but I missed the censoring. As you see, the mosaic here looks like it's doing the censoring on the nude, the mosaic filter. So quite brilliant there. Beautiful work. And here is Quampa Chitra Sutra, MS Paint and Effects 2025. So Quampa continues. Looks like we have another frog, another Pepe the Frog here, and then stretched all out. And as we see here up close, I believe these are up close parts of that work. You see all of the work that goes into here. So Quampa doing fabulous on the socials, particularly on Instagram, but also quite well on Twitter or X. Cool work. So continuing to push the MS Paint. Here is Mumble Boy, picked up by Oblivion Fields, Discover a New Continent. Beautiful work here from Mumble Boy. Great colors and really pushing, I think maybe it's this pixelation. Filling in these kind of digital gradients, really pushing things. It seems to be combining, integrating the physical and the digital even more than before, interestingly, and gives quite a nice impact when you take a step back. So, cool work by Mumbleboy, a 1 of 1 going for 19 Tezos. This is Yoain, of course, GM Bar Mediterráneo. So it looks like perhaps a bar on the Mediterranean looking off into a landscape. So as usually these feel like abstracts, but here perhaps almost a representational abstract AI artist. And as you see here, spectacular textures here, as you can see. I mean, look at how painterly this AI artwork looks. So pretty spectacular here, isn't it? So cool work from Yoain. Here is Amalia Versace. And so a nice abstract here from Amalia. And this is on X. I'm not sure if this was put on, I wonder, is this AI? Hard to say. Perhaps there seems to be, but it's hard to tell if that's brushwork or not. All to say, pretty cool work. Regardless. DJ Kiro, Gwenda. So cool video painting here, just nice minimal colors and glitchery. Again, crossover between, video and painting. Edition of 69. Here's Yada, or Yada. A cool, what you might consider to be a pixel art abstract, perhaps, or just pixelated abstract. Cool work there. And let's continue and pray that here comes okay, we can't zoom in on the Santiago work or the computer will crash. Not about art. Beautiful. Love the spaciness. Love the negative space in here. Really creates a cool feel here. Nice piece from Santiago, edition of 3. And 2 minted by Nikita. Maybe it was an open edition. Louis Osborne, Bouquet. So nice new piece here, I believe, of flowers celebrating perhaps the beginning of summer here on June 21st. And that is an edition of 20, now 44 Tezos on secondary. So Louis Osborne doing well to keep his collectors and audience. Here's another one, Sticker Bomb Series 2, now in the works. So working on a new sticker series. So cool work from Louis Osborne. And here is, I think it's Skitchism. Indeed it is. Spread Love. So as you can see, kind of a heart here, but double image, almost like a mushroom head guy. Has some great work all over the blockchain, but on Object, you can find some of the earlier works on Tezos. Cool artist. I think might have been putting some work on Avalanche. This was an edgy work here. Perturbatus. Look at that, 127 retweets. Definitely got some attention. And an interesting juxtaposition with, I think it's the Hanged Man here, and the leg, and of course there's a missing leg and the crutch here, and the missing arm. Wild, kind of edgy work that quite ambiguous, isn't it? So interesting piece. Here's Sui Soichi. Cool, just kind of sketch in progress here, and we see again, looks quite cool, doesn't it? Sui Soichi, even I like all this stuff here too. This kind of what looks like paintbrush strokes. I like the looseness. Continuing on, L'Inquisiteur Hephaestus, who is, of course, I think, Vulcan in Roman mythology, who would make the weapons. So here we are with the furnaces and everything, using a custom-made tool, the Waffles tool created by Santiago, also known as Time, on Object. So very nice piece here by L'Inquisiteur. Here is Canuck Zapata, movie night with the friends. So you do wonder about the eyeballs here. I do wonder. I mean, just based on the last show. Nevertheless, here Canuck Zapata putting together a nice, cool work. Friends at the movies, cool piece. Here, cellular automata and dither with Midjourney output with cellular automata and dithering extracting colors. So adding Midjourney, we see the eyes again here, T for 2. I went to my friend's house and he gave me a floral tea made of Banisteriopsis capi, or ayahuasca, as they say. And so here the mind beginning to disintegrate a little bit. So interesting piece from Canuck Zapata. Edition of 12. Here is mech.txt, kind of almost a comic book format here. I am here, mech.txt. We see this beautiful, is that a deer or a moose? And a deer pack. So it looks like a deer. Kind of glitched out, interestingly, at the bottom here. Nice detail. 15,000 views, doing quite well. Here's Jean Provencher. Beautiful piece here. Playing with different kinds of pixelation, dithering. Maybe it's hard to tell if it is manually done. Is this a different process? Cool work, great color. Even this green contrasting with the red. And let me speed through this. We are almost done. Here, Rui 8-bit pixel art. I think this is Japanese pixel art. Very interesting work here. Make sure I'm following them. Here is Right Click Dead, Infinite Loop. This is from a few days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, perhaps. Very nice piece here. This kind of drawing machine. Almost self-reflexive, isn't it? Very, very nice piece. And that sold for 0.15, $344 on May 27th. So nice sale. Here's Hermipe. Almost looking like Ultima a little bit in terms of the angle, but you know, there's probably a few adventure games like this, but you almost see the box, you see the trees, but done in its own way. Rogue-like vote, so not sure what that means. Cool piece. Here is Momo. So we're seeing the 3D of the driving scene and now making it into wallpaper. I believe another Japanese pixel artist. Beautiful wallpaper here. Great color. So super interesting there. 9,500 views, doing quite well. Here's Element Lee. Just some digital lines put on Instagram. Just such an interesting artist. Byte by Bit, Mars Invasion 2891. So cool work here. Kind of simulated video game using PC Paint by Byte by Bit, edition of 1. Post Viridis. This was, I believe it was Absurdeity who actually picked this up and posted about it. Nice find. Post Viridis. Cool artist. Nice pixel art, isn't it? Pretty interesting. Looks like a plant. Here's Francoise Gamma, 10,000 followers. Congratulations. So a cool heart here for Francoise Gamma. Doing quite well there. More Japanese pixel art. Masaba. Cool, kind of glitched out, pixelized fish. And here is Austin. This is Bloodsport, so very nicely done animation and some glitchy pixel art animation. Amazing. Look at this. Look at Austin, 169 retweets, 17,000 views. So congratulations to Austin. Just continuing to power through. Doing quite well. So great to see that. You're in Yacon. Stream number 74. So as we see here, it's getting pretty darn processed and abstract. Pretty amazing. Looks great. Edition of 1. Flemmer. I think we saw this work. I feel like I've shown this like 3 times here at this point, but it just looks great. You have sustained a lethal injury. So beautiful piece here, part of the Apparatus 1 show by Sovereign. Here, a couple of edgy works by Walk, part of the War series. So I think this is a continuation of Abu Ghraib, that big scandal at the prison in Iraq, 59. So a very powerful series. I feel like we're going to see these in a museum one day. Here is Score, Lotus in the Pot. This looks spectacular. Is there any volume? No volume. So amazing. I think touch designer, 3D scanners from Score. Pretty rad. Beautiful work here. And so we'll leave it there. Edition of 1, Harn Tezos. Here is Klaus, composition 494. So very cool colors here. Nice kind of minimal work. Just taking a cube and making it move. Love the side. Those lines on the side. Edition of 1, selling for 25 Tezos. And here is Casey, also known as Caxel, K-Sexel. I don't know how to pronounce it. Whispers of a Coming Storm. Interesting piece. Kind of sounds like our news cycle here. Whispers of a Coming Storm. A quiet tension is in the air, indeed. That looks like AI was in the tags there, interestingly. Yadame. This is by Renki. So nice, kind of taking... Remember the Donald Judd, a chorus theme? So this is in the series called Judd. So a celebration, one imagines, of Donald Judd's work, edition of 5 for 7 Tezos. Thank you for the commenter that mentioned that. Here's Machine. This is a fabulous work. New Muse unlocked. This was about a month ago when I was away. Pretty amazing. Machine. Her work here, very, capturing the zeitgeist a little bit. Here's Joachim Official, The Need for Speed. Soon at Kristen Hjellerdy Gallery. Now, this is actually in July. I checked twice because I wanted to go to this show in Berlin. This is a fabulous work. But I'm pretty sure the opening is actually a month from now, according to their website. Louis, make sure I'm following them. Louis Simo. This is retweeted by Uxine, and just an awesome painting here of a Motorola phone. Fabulous. Here's Michael Pittman by It's Not Gallery, or presented by It's Not Gallery on their incredible account, who I regularly feature on this show. One of the hottest curator accounts really on the internet, in the world, I would argue. Just fantastic. And so bringing more fabulous work here. Michael Pittman is the latest. This is Moto Hero, and almost like a Dali-like, you think of the legs or the drawers coming out of the legs or the face, whatever the case may be. So just a rad drawing here. And finally, what looks like a pixelated or digital, created sculpture by David Cohen Art. Very interesting. That is your show, my friends. So see you at 4 for the Captain's launch. And thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care.